Hello, it's me again. Another video talking about the legacy that I'm gonna, leave to my grandchildrens. I'm trying to take this things from my eyes, but it's completely is a challenge. Okay, so continuing my story of my childhood. Now is the time for the childhood. It's a long one because yes, you I it a lot happens there. For example, I remember when my granddad, the my mother's father died. I remember it. I was about 3 years old, but I remember the despair of my mother is still on my memory. That moment, I was, trying to escape from one of my grandparents, and I saw my father carry my mother on the arms, and she was fainting. She did faint, and when they told her that her father was dead. So that memory is still on me, looking at my father carrying my mother on the arms to the bedroom, and I was crying, of course. Uh, yes, I was 3 years old, a little more. My mother just had the last baby, so yeah. Well, this memory is still with me, you know what I mean? Deep down there. So after the death of my grandparents, my grandfather, um, as I told before, my father was working in the airport. So when they opened the airport in Goiânia and they make it bigger, so because my father was very good engineer, they contract him and they sent him to work in Goiânia, the capital of Goiás. So my family has to move from Anápolis to Goiânia. I was about 3.5, 4 years old when this happened. So um, and when we moved to Goiânia, our life changed completely. And because I was still hiding underneath tables and beds, etc., um, my mother took me to the a doctor, and then they advised my parents to put me in a school, in a private school. So I was still young to go to school on those days. Those days, normally you go to school at 6, but because of my behavior, they decided to put me in school earlier, about 5. So yeah, it was a nightmare for me. It was a trauma itself, because I was afraid of everyone. I was afraid of everything. So the first week in school, I was crying all day, the turn long. For 1 week, I kept crying, and it was traumatizing, and I still remember these moments. I still remember the one of the helpers in the school take me to the swinging, so to distract me, and I was just crying and calling my mother, and it was terrible. But at the end, I managed to adapt myself to that school and to the other kids. I was afraid of the kids. I was a loner, you know. So, but the patience of the school, it was a Catholic school, so they were very patient with me. So at the end, I managed to overcome that. And because at the end, I remember, because I was better, I was behaving better. I was allowed, my father, when they came to pick us up in the school, And then I was they were I was allowed to go to the because there were forests near by the school. The school was by the side on a big forest, and I was always from very young age. I was very into nature, so my dream was to go inside that that forest, and it was huge. It was huge. This forest is still there, it's still there. So, and there were some trees, some fruit trees in there, and my father was climbing to the trees to pick the the fruits for us. So yes, I remember clearly. There were a fountain on where people go down there to take some water because this water was very pure. It was from the fountain itself. So yes, and we went there many times to pick up this pure water. It was the fountain itself. It was fantastic place to be. So yes, and I remember all this. I don't think this is still there. I probably when I go to Brazil again, I will try to visit that place and see if it's still this fountain is still there. Probably no, because everything is destroyed by the. Okay, by the time time sometimes is very difficult to bear because yeah. Anyway, so you stayed in Goiânia, as I told before, until I was about 7, 8 years old when you moved back to Anápolis, because then um, I was 9 actually, because it was about 60. No, yes, I was 8 to 9. And you have to go back to Anápolis because it was the when they start to build Brasilia, the capital. So my father was designing to go back to move to Brasilia because he was working for Shell. So Shell moved everything to Brasilia, to the capital. So in order to help building the capital of Brazil. So my father was, designing to go to Brasilia, but because he was afraid of the big city, he didn't want to go to Brasilia. He didn't want to go risk everything and go down there. It was a mistake. I think he regret that for a long, long time because at the end he moved to Brasilia when I was 17. So he went to live in Brasilia. So yes, I was 18, 17 to 18 when I decided myself. I said, now I'm gonna move to Brasilia. So he was trying to avoid something that didn't happen later on. This is a lesson also. Sometimes you try to avoid some changes that life forces us to do, and then you postpone it. But later on, if it is on your destiny, you are gonna go. You know what I mean? It's no escape. So yes, he thought he would escape to go to Brasilia, but he didn't. So yeah, so instead of going to Brasilia, he resigned from the Shell, and then went to build his own business in Anápolis. It was okay because he was a very good engineer, so he managed to survive. But if you have been moved to Brazil on those days, our life would be completely different from what it was afterwards because you had too many challenges, too many challenges. So all these challenges that you had in there should be avoided if you have been moved to. If he answered the call for a big step, but he didn't. He was afraid of that move. So we pay the price for his fear. So it's not I'm not uh, what can I say? I'm not blaming him for whatever happens in our life afterwards, but we have to take responsibility for our choices, and he did take responsibility for his choices. Even then, we suffer a lot because of his choices. Okay, so when you move back to Annapolis, um, we start to have some problems, some, challenges, big ones. And in my case, it makes me be more close. I close more myself. I was into reading a lot. I was trying to hide myself behind books. I didn't like my reality, so I was, you know, making it escape. Yeah. I was escaping my reality, yeah, in deep in myself in books and reading all the time and studying all the time. So yes, it's until I was about 12. So when I was 12 and my sister was 11 and I was 12 to 13, we decided, me and my sister, to build a school in our house to teach the poorest than us to read and write. It don't last long, but it was okay. And then after that, I was, because I was always very into helping and others. I I was studying in the on those days. My father had lots of friends because he was Masonic. He was, so. And then at the school where I was studying, uh, the owner of the school, it was a private school, so the owner of the school had a big farm, and in his farm they had a lot of children. So he asked me, I was about 13 to 14, and he asked me to give lessons to these children. So I was going to school in the morning, teaching in the afternoon. So I was very busy. I did it for a year. So when I was 16, then I started my teenager time. So I was more in reading, more in writing. I started to write poems and things like this. Um, and because my family was from a Baptist church, we're very religious on those days. Okay, I was very into questioning everything. Very, very. I was very I was not accepting everything that I was listening to. I was questioning everything. I was a little rebel also because of the things I went through. Because on those days between my 12 to 16, I was with lots of fear inside my heart. I was afraid of a lot of things. So, consequence, of course, of the experience from where I was young. But because I was very sensitive, I was able to see things that other people were not able to. For example, I was always looking at the sky, always dreaming, looking at the clouds, and and reading the clouds, things like this. And I remember before, when I was younger than this, I remember coming from the church in the nights, and all this dark sky with thousands of stars, because on those days we didn't have the light to have got today in the street, so it was a darker. So all these stars in the sky, and I was wondering who was living up there, and questioning the beliefs of people that said that we were the only ones in the universe. I didn't believe that. I always believed that there is more up there. There is other beings living up there, and one day you will be, in contact with them. That's what my thoughts when I was at that time. So yes, I had a lot of dreams in my heart. and I wanted to conquer the world. I want to conquer everything. Oh God, yes, beautiful time. So when I was 16, 17, I decided that I want to go for a school, a Bible school. Okay. So I was very active in the church. I was very active. I was very active in the church. I was uh, leading, um, teenagers, and I was giving lessons in the church. I was singing in the carol. I was, very active. Christmas time, I always engage in the presentations and decoration. And yes, I was very active in the church, um, because my father was one of the the base of the church. He was one of the the presidents or whoever in there. He had a very higher position in the church. So as a daughter of him, I was always engaged in a lot of things. So they decided to send me to that school in another state of Brazil in the south. So I went there. I was 17. It was the most amazing experience um, during that time. But before this, I my engagements in the church and leading a lot of groups in the church, I went around the Brazil with um, other young people, like caravans, and I went a lot of places and campings, and I was very active like this, very active. Um, and one of these places I went um, in 1965, 1965, 1966, when the astronauts went to the moon. So yes, I was in I was in Minas Gerais, in the capital, in Belo Horizonte, and you were in a restaurant when you saw these astronauts stepping on the moon. So yes, it was very interesting experience also. So, but I knew in my heart everything would be, you know, would be progressing. And I told on the table when I was there, look, this is just the beginning. We are gonna go far. And I said, we are the generation that is gonna see a lot of things like this. And we are gonna conquer the universe, because the universe for us on those days was just around. He didn't have the knowledge of how fast and how big is the universe. No, no idea. You didn't have any idea. Our idea was just the solar system, and probably some galaxy, our galaxy only. You didn't have this knowledge of many galaxies, and billions and billions of years from us. You didn't have this knowledge. So for us, on those days, going to the moon was you know the amazing thing. Today you are talking to step on Mars. So for probably in about, because I'm talking about 50 years ago, probably in 50 years time, me talking about going to Mars is gonna be nothing. Like, for me today, going to the moon on those days was like nothing compared to whatever you're gonna do from now on. So yes, so Vovo, so the first step on the moon. Yeah, I saw it from the television. It was something beautiful. I will never forget. our first step outside the planet Earth. So, yes, fantastic. But we didn't have telephone on those days like we have today, just house phone, you know. And the very old one, they, hello. They were that you have to yeah, that's the one. Okay. Sorry. Oh good. Time to stop. God bless you. Keep you safe and me also.